If you're anything but a die-hard Dylan fan, his current live show is likely to leave you a little confused. This primer will bring you up to speed. The Outlaw Music Festival tour has generated much attention due to Willie Nelson's extended absence from the first 2 weeks of shows due to illness, Lucas Nelson stepping in for his father, with occasional help from guests like Derek Trucks, Susan Tedeschi, and Edie Brickell, the triumphant return of Willie on July 4th, and the weird Bob Dylan shirt sold every night at the merch stand. All of that has overshadowed the fact that Dylan is playing some of his loosest concerts in recent memory. After 3 years of delivering a show that featured nearly a complete performance of 2020's Rough and Rowdy Ways, along with a handful of the same older tunes night after night, he decided to rip up the set and start over. The Rough and Rowdy Ways material has been completely tossed out, replaced by tunes that date back to 1965's Highway 61 Revisited and stretch all the way to 2012's Tempest. He's also spotlighting obscure cover songs from the 50s he's never previously played in concert. The changes in the show aren't limited to the song selections. Drummer Jerry Pentecost left the band and was replaced by Dylan's gospel-era bandmate, Jim Keltner. Pedal steel guitarist Donnie Herron also left the band after an 18-year stint. What remains is a lean quartet of Keltner, bassist Tony Garnier, and guitarists Bob Britt and Doug Lancio. They're hitting large outdoor amphitheaters packed with Willie Nelson fans and playing with a joy and abandon not felt at Dylan concerts in years. The opening night set in Alpharetta, Georgia, was completely unique and especially wild, but it quickly coalesced into a 15-song show he's been repeating every evening. Here's our song-by-song guide, since audience members are allowed to film the show for the first time in many years. 1. Highway 61 Revisited, 1965. The tone for the night is set when Dylan walks on stage, often with his shirt unbuttoned practically to his waist, steps up the piano, and pounds out the opening notes to Highway 61 Revisited. He's played this one over 2,000 times, topped on the stats by All Along the Watchtower, and this version isn't wildly dissimilar from what we've heard at never-ending tour stops of years past. But the piano is mixed louder than usual, and the absence of Herron means it's easier to hear exactly what each guitarist is playing. Most nights, Dylan is nodding his head along to Keltner's beat, smiling off out of the corner of his mouth and clearly having a blast. It should be noted that Keltner is 82, just 13 months younger than Dylan. Neil Young and Crazy Horse drummer Ralph Molina is 80. This is the summer of the octogenarian drummer. 2. Shooting Star, 1989. We jump 24 years in time after the opening number to Shooting Star from Oh Mercy. Prior to June, Dylan hadn't played the song since 2013. It's a slow, moving rendition of the ballad that allows Dylan to enunciate every word very clearly. Some of Highway 61 Revisited gets pretty garbled, especially the "Oh, the rovin' gambler." He was very bored trying to create a Next World War section. It also includes the first harmonica solo of the night, which gets the crowd cheering. Like every song in the set, Shooting Star wasn't a hit and won't be recognized by casual fans. But it's one of the most beautiful songs from the Daniel Lanois-produced Oh Mercy, which ended a dismal run of albums and kickstarted an amazing comeback period. 3. Lovesick, 1997. Dylan re-teamed with Lanois 8 years later after Oh Mercy for Time Out of Mind, which won him a Grammy for Album of the Year and some of his best reviews in decades. But Dylan felt the final product was overproduced, and he's reworked the songs many times over the past quarter century. This latest redo of Love Sick is slow and haunting. There's also some new lines, like, "You thrill to my heart, and you rip it all apart. You went through my pockets when I was sleeping." Brutal. 4. Little Queenie, 1959, Chuck Berry. Dylan's love of Chuck Berry goes back to childhood, and over the years he's honored him by playing No Money Down, Nadine, Roll Over Beethoven, Johnny B. Good, and Around and Around. But he didn't attempt Little Queenie until the kickoff of the Outlaw tour. It's a chance for Lancio and Britt to trot out their best Berry riffs, and an opportunity for Dylan to party like it's his senior year of high school. This is now one of the few covers that both Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones have in their live repertoire. 5. Mr. Blue, 1959, The Fleetwoods. In the early days of the Basement Tape sessions, Dylan and the band laid down a truncated version of Mr. Blue by doo-wop act The Fleetwoods. It would be another 57 years before Dylan revisited Mr. Blue on the opening night of the Outlaw tour. The song was #1 for a single week in November 1959, when it managed to briefly topple Bobby Darin's Mac the Knife from the top spot. Dylan returning to it in 1967 and again in 2024 is yet more evidence that the music we love at 18 stays with us forever. 6. Early Roman Kings, 2012. This Chicago blues song from Tempest has been played live more than any other track on the record, just over 600 times. The original recording features David Hidalgo from Los Lobos on accordion and Charlie Sexton on guitar. On this tour, Britt takes the lead. It's not significantly different than the other versions we've heard over the past dozen years, but it has a new drive with this smaller band. 7. Can't Wait, 1997. We're back to Time Out of Mind. At this point for Can't Wait, which hadn't been played since 2019, prior to this tour. Every tiny bit of Daniel Lanois has been sucked from this one, and we're left with Dylan slowly playing it on the piano, delivering the words almost spoken word style. Accompaniment from the band is kept to a bare minimum. The result is remarkably stark and powerful. 8. Under the Red Sky, 1990. Few people knew it at the time, but Bob Dylan had an infant daughter, Desiree Gabrielle Dennis Dylan, when he created Under the Red Sky. It explains why the album was dedicated to Gabby Goo Goo, and why so many of the songs seem like nursery rhymes. The title track is about a little boy and a little girl that wind up baked together in a pie, and it hadn't been played live since 2013. 9. Things Have Changed, 2000. Dylan won an Oscar for this song from the 2000 Curtis Hanson movie, The Wonder Boys, and it's been a staple of his live show ever since. They've worked up a bluesier, guitar-driven arrangement for this tour that's hard to even spot as things have changed until the vocals start. He wrote the song from the perspective of the Michael Douglas character in the film, but it's become a theme song to many during the insanity of the past decade or so. People are crazy and times are strange. I'm locked in tight. I'm out of range. I used to care, but things have changed. 10. Stella Blue, 1973, Grateful Dead. Dylan was a huge admirer of the Grateful Dead, and he was crushed when Jerry Garcia died. To me, he wasn't only a musician and friend. He was more like a big brother who taught and showed me more than he'll ever know, he told Rolling Stone in 1995. There's no way to convey the loss. It just digs down really deep. Last year, he added several Dead songs into his live show, including the Wake of the Flood gem, Stella Blue. He brought it back into the mix this year. It's one of the nightly highlights of the show.